So what is the capital of Australia? Where was Freddie Mercury born? And how old is the Queen? Questions, 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 and invariably we turn to Google. But can we trust the search engine, or does it have its own agenda? For instance, why is this the first thing I see when I type in idiot? And does it abuse its monopoly status? All good questions that were put to Google's CEO, Sundar Pichai.
I think Google is really taking advantage of a lot of people, and I think that's a very serious thing, and it's a very serious charge. They better be careful, because you can't do that to people.
Google's in trouble with the president again.
Trump right now is attacking the Google machine and the algorithms that they employ.
He tweeted, quote, Google's search results for Trump news shows only the viewing reporting of fake news media, calling it rigged.
Republicans believe that Google search results have a political bias against conservatives.
Part of the issue here is that Google for 20 years has been pretty secretive about its algorithm and hasn't shared a lot of details, and so that can flame these sort of conspiracy theories.
I really do believe that the government should step in and really check this out.
Is there any evidence that they actually are censoring internet search results?
We're looking into it.
Google CEO Sundar Pichai is set to appear before the House Judiciary Committee.
I lead this company without political bias and work to ensure that our products continue to operate that way.
If you Google the word idiot, a picture of Donald Trump comes up. How would that happen? How does search work?
We take the keyword and match it against web pages and rank them based on over 200 signals. Things like relevance, freshness, popularity.
Does Google track my movement?
Not by default.
How do you explain this apparent bias on Google's part against conservative policies?
We use a robust methodology to reflect what is being said about any given topic at any particular time.
I'd like you to look into overuse of conservative news organizations to put on liberal people's news on Google. And if you let me know about that, I'd appreciate it.
Everyone goes up to the Hill, they do their thing, we all chatter about how regulation's coming, this, that, and the other thing, and what?
I have a 7-year-old granddaughter who picked up her phone, and up on there pops a picture of her grandfather. And I'm not going to say into the record what kind of language was used around that picture of her grandfather, but I'd ask you, how does that show up on a 7-year-old's iPhone who's playing a kid's game?
Congressman, iPhone is made by a different company.
Day in and day out, we are calling for more regulation to protect us and protect our data. And then we watch guys like Steve King and many others have absolutely no clue how this stuff works.
I'm happy to follow up and understand the specifics if there may be an application which was being used.
So one of the most powerful men in Silicon Valley spent his afternoon doing tech support for confused old men.
It is mind-boggling, isn't it? What were they talking about? Well, let's bring in our panel now. Finn Brownbill is a PR and marketing man for Mojeek, an alternative search engine. We also have Matt Binder, a tech journalist at Mashable, which is an online news site. And finally, Richard Granville is the founder of search engine Yippee, which has quite a different approach to search than Google does. Rich, let me start with you. When you were watching that performance by these venerable senators trying to hold a Sundar to account, how many times did you laugh?
I mean, I laughed the laughing was on both sides. I mean, Sundar told many lies to the senators, and the senators were quite inept in their questions.
They're just not capable of dealing with the tech titans of Silicon Valley.
I think it's just a prep on their part, not having the right individuals behind the scenes, giving them the right information, the right questions to ask.
If you were there, what would have been the killer question?
There are too many in my head, but you know, the idiot thing, what I would have jumped on immediately and said, you know, is this a part of your key matching? You can statistically and manipulate relevancy based on an image or a source, which can be hard-coded in, so that when any user types in the word idiot, the outcome will be determined by the search engineer.
Matt, you wrote an article about this. What was your take of the whole session?
In a lot of ways, these hearings that tech companies have had in front of Congress should be meaningful. They should be important. These companies clearly need some sort of government regulation to rein them in. And our lawmakers in the United States are completely in over their heads when they're sitting before Sundar, Mark Zuckerberg, Jack Dorsey. They just don't understand what they're even asking when they're asking it sometimes. For example, when Steve King's up there holding up his iPhone and asking Google what's the deal with certain things about him popping up on this phone that they don't even make.
Okay, so the question was, why does the picture of Donald Trump appear as the top result when people type in the word idiot? Finn, I want to come to you. You're sorting out a new search engine in the UK. What is the answer to that? Because Sundar says it is a natural result that comes up as a result of the data they have. What is the actual answer?
Well, search engines depend heavily on links. So we've seen it before, and we could probably say it is a case of Google bombing. So because all these popular sites are linked to this Trump and the photo and the term idiot, the more people talk about it, the higher it will just rank. So,
okay, well that's one explanation. Let's go back to Rich. Rich, what do you think is the reason? You think it's actually malicious and intended, is that right?
It's 100% malicious and intended, and it's coded in, and it's a response to the Google and the Google executives being pissed off that Trump got elected, and they're doing everything they can do to probe and prick at him as best they can. There is no doubt about it.
Where's the proof of that?
I mean, I own a search engine for more than 10 years, came out of Carnegie Mellon University. We are far more advanced in the Google algorithms, and I can personally control relevancy and ranking on everything in my engine with a click.
Okay.
So it's very simple.
Matt, you're shaking your head?
Yeah, I gotta disagree with that. I don't think there's some sort of anti-conservative bias at Google in terms of how the search algorithm works. Are the employees of Google, do they lean left? Surely. I mean, that's just the facts of the matter. A lot of them live in California.
Yeah, but
a lot
can
of them are immigrants.
the results be manipulated by people? That's the question, Matt.
Right. Well, the results can be manipulated in terms of the fact that people create the algorithm. In terms of is a Google employee who doesn't like Trump deciding to make a picture show up because when someone types in the word idiot. No, that's not happening.
Okay, well, as Matt says, people write the algorithms, and the people in Google, in Santa Clara, that area, tend to be overwhelmingly Democrats. Let's have a look at some of the facts here. 90% of political donations from Alphabet employees, remember Alphabet owns Google and YouTube and a couple of other companies, have gone to Democrat politicians over 2004 to 2018. The Google executives visited the Obama White House at least 427 times during his presidency, which is roughly one time a week. And Google's former longtime executive chairman is a Democrat, Eric Schmidt, and he reportedly funded a data analytics firm that helped Hillary Clinton's campaign. And then, of course, there's that leaked video of senior Google executives very upset once Hillary didn't win.
Most people here are pretty upset and pretty sad because of the election. As an immigrant and a refugee, I certainly find this election deeply offensive, and I know many of you do too.
That was the first moment I really felt like we were going to lose, and it was this massive kick in the gut that we were going to lose, and it was really painful.
I think it's fairly obvious that Google leans largely liberal and democratic.
Is there anything positive you see from this election result?
Boy, that's a really tough one right now.
Well, let's go back to Rich for a moment. Rich, Eric Schmidt, in fact, Google as an entire company gets you enraged. Why?
Well, I mean, the company itself has no morals. That you could hear it from yourself. You got a panel of people talking about the President of the United States. Not one of them has served their country in any capacity whatsoever. I'm ex-military myself. So when you listen to this drivel coming out of these individuals' mouths, it really pisses me off, because this was a democratic election. We are a republic, and they're talking about that they're upset with the election, but they had no reason to interfere in the election. It's complete bull.
Matt?
I mean, you have a bunch of employees. What you said basically before with the stats of Google employees donating more to Democrats than Republicans. But if you look at the stats of donations from the company, Alphabet itself, they actually donate more to Republicans than Democrats. Because when you look at just the employee statistics of how they're donating, I mean, you're looking at, a low-level employee too, donating whatever, 10, 15 bucks maybe to a Democratic politician. But you have Alphabet who's donating based on politicians that they feel their policies will advance their goal, which is to make money. And so they see that as the Republicans are going to help them do that. So the fact that, they're going to make an image about Trump, say idiot on purpose, because they have some political bias, what would they gain from that? It's just absurd. Their job is to make money. And I mean, hell, Trump's tax breaks. I mean, how much has Google made just from that?
Well, this is my question. I mean, if Google execs are in the Obama White House pretty much every week, presumably they're looking to talk about regulatory issues, for example, about the FCC and what the government can do for them.
Right. Well, Google's been treated well by this administration, too. I mean, just because Trump's out there on Twitter tweeting how much he dislikes Google because they're biased. I mean, that's fine and dandy. But what has the Trump administration done policy-wise to hurt Google? And I find nothing there.
OK, well, let's look at a couple of claims coming from conservatives, in particular, a well-known conspiracy theorist and a conservative commentator, Alex Jones. He confronted Google's CEO as he was heading into the hearing. Listen.
Sundar, you're engaged in treason. You've had Google executives lie to Congress that you're not censoring conservatives. Sundar, you will not silence the people.
There's Sundar Pichai right there.
Your censorship will not work anymore, Sundar. We're aware of your activities, trying to muzzle the American people and gaming your search results. Google is evil.
What do you make of that, Matt? Do you think that conservatives get a hard go of it by Google?
I mean, absolutely not, especially when you take Alex Jones into consideration. He was making tons of money off of YouTube for very long because the way Google's algorithm on YouTube works, which is different from the way their search algorithm works, it really put content like Jones's on a pedestal. You Google pretty much any search term, and the suggested videos promote a lot of conservative videos.
And now he's been wiped off social media pretty much. His YouTube channel closed down, his Twitter account, and so on.
Right. Well, that's really his own doing.
Well, I want to ask you though, but is it equitable treatment when you consider how the left is treated? For example, the comedian Kathy Griffin, who posed with a fake severed head of Donald Trump, still has her YouTube channel. What do you think about that, Matt? I mean, is she not breaching the sort of terms of conditions and services?
Well, according to Google, she's not. And I mean, her content off of that channel in terms of her creating that image with the head of Donald Trump, I mean, that's not the same as hate speech, which is one of the reasons why Alex Jones got taken off. Saying, harassing the families of the children who died in the Sandy Hook shooting is nowhere really near the level of
Rich, come in.
Comedic image.
I think that Google and YouTube and the whole establishment were against Alex Jones. Alex Jones actually did a very good job in helping Donald Trump get elected to the presidency. I do think that he goes a little overboard sometimes, but then again, you have some congressmen that are out in California, I'm not going to name any names, that are talking about, go out and protest everything and harass and do the same thing. So when you look at it in totality, I mean, number one, it's childish. Number two, the system itself is rigged, and it's going to be that way until there's some regulation put in place.
Now, the complaints don't just come from conservatives. Liberal commentators were complaining that senators hadn't pushed Google hard enough to censor extremist views. Here's CNN questioning Senator Ted Lieu.
I would love to be able to regulate the content of speech. The First Amendment prevents me from doing so. And that's simply a function of the First Amendment. But I think over the long run, it's better that government does not regulate the content of speech. I would urge these private sector companies to regulate it better themselves. But it's really nothing that I believe government can do. And so that's been my position all along.
Let's go back to Matt. Matt, we have a senator there, liberal Democrat senator there, saying he would love to regulate free speech. Who cares about the First Amendment? But unfortunately, he can't.
When it comes to these companies, we're dealing not with a free speech issue. This isn't a First Amendment issue. These companies, Google, Facebook, Twitter, they have every right to police the content on their website however they'd like. They're privately owned. They're not owned by the government. I mean, that First Amendment just covers you. Like no one. Alex Jones wasn't jailed for being for the reasons he was banned from YouTube.
Well, politically biased or not, that's certainly a debate that will continue. But what's not up for debate is that Google is the dominant search engine. But is it a monopoly? And if it is that dangerous for us?
In a world of uncertainty and confusion, where everyone's questioning everything, sometimes it can feel like there's only one thing to do.
Google it.
Google it.
Google it.
Google it.
Google it! Google it!
Okay, I'm Googling it. In fact, 40,000 of us Google something every single second. That's over 3.5 billion searches a day, or 90% of all internet searches. That's 90%. The rest is mopped up by the also-runs. All American in the top 5, Bing, Yahoo, some people are still asking, and for you silver surfers, AOL. Those were the days. And if you're in China, you're probably Baiduing it. And in Russia, you might be Yandexing. So, how did Google become #1? Well, aside from reeling in the brightest minds Stanford and UC Berkeley have to offer, the key to Google's success is its algorithm. A closely guarded magic formula that ranks search results by relevance. But is it getting dangerously big?
Google is a monopoly in search. It dominates the online advertising business, and it owns YouTube, the dominant video distribution platform.
That market dominance means that Google receives over 1/3 of the global spending on digital advertising. And critics say Google's not playing fair, favoring its own products and services over those of its rivals. Hence the $2.5 billion EU fine last year, and again in 2018, a record $5.1 billion. Plus, there's a price we pay for those speedy search results. Data. Google stores information on your location, search history, your name, age, gender. It pretty much knows everything about you. But the Colossus isn't going unchallenged. Smaller sites like Startpage and DuckDuckGo promise to never store your data, and they're growing fast. So with the tech titans tracking your every move, could we be looking at a new era of search engine? Let's go back to Finn for a moment. Finn, you are part of a team that established your own search engine in the UK. Why did you do that?
Starting from scratch, it started as a personal project by founder and developer Mark Smith. And he was just fascinated by search, and he wanted to make his own. But with a bit more investment, he thought, okay, I'll turn this into a business. And he saw Google as a good base model, but as they were going down a route he didn't want to follow, he built a search engine on his set of ethics, and that has remained to the core.
What was his problem with Google?
So, I mean, to begin with, they were very anti-advertising, and they were very pure with their organic results. This is something that has remained with Mojik for our existence. So you might find that when you search on Google, you'll have Google products popping up, you might have advertising, and eventually you keep scrolling down and you get to the organic results. This is something Mark was very against. But there's also the issue of privacy. Now, Mojik was the first search engine in the world with a no tracking privacy policy. This means we don't track users, and we don't have any personal identifying information on them, whereas Google's business model is based on advertising and tracking users.
Okay. Rich, let me come over to you. You've also got a search engine, Yippee. First of all, would you categorize Google as a monopoly? And what are the dangers if it is one?
You could say it's in a monopoly, but a monopoly that holds the highest percentage of business. Essentially, they control the advertising world, right? When they made the purchase of DoubleClick, it was one of the best deals that's ever been done on the internet, as far as I'm concerned. It gave them the strength and the power that they have ridden on for now more than 10 years later. So while we do have an online search engine, I also want your audience to recognize that Yippee is more of an enterprise class search engine. Google's algorithms are, far inferior to what we do, data compliance intelligence company, but we do have an online search engine, Yippee does.
Well, there's a little mention there of an alternative website, DuckDuckGo. Apparently, you almost bought that.
Yeah, I almost bought DuckDuckGo. Yeah, when I decided on the Vivissimo, it was Vivissimo and DuckDuckGo were the last two finalists for a group of guys out of Sand Hill Road and myself. And we actually chose the East Coast product from out of Carnegie Mellon University. The search algorithm was just so much farther advanced. It was literally 10 or 15 years ahead of its time. DuckDuckGo uses open source technology. Gabriel Weinberg's a very fine individual. I know him personally, and he has a great search engine.
Are these alternative search engines ever going to really pose a challenge to Google?
Well, can I butt in here?
Yeah, no, they're not.
Yeah, so what?
Come in, Finn.
Yeah, sure. So what really differentiates Mojeek and Google, say, from DuckDuckGo and Startpage, is the fact that we're crawler-based search engines and they're meta search engines. So what meta search engines are is they build on top of the index of other search engines. For example, DuckDuckGo uses Bing results and then adds the feature of privacy. So going back to bias, if these alternatives do rise and people switch to them, this doesn't really solve the problem of the few having control over what information we see.
Matt, let me come to you. Is it the dominant player because it's so good, or is it the dominant player because it's cheating?
Well, Google's the dominant player because early on, it got in early, and they really were the best search engine early on, and it's still, in my opinion, in many ways, if you do a search on Google and then do a search on Bing or Yahoo, for example, which both share results, you'll see pretty much on your own which is the better search engine. And it's unfortunate that Google has decided to go this route. I mean, I see why, but they're making money off of our data, and that's really their main driver now.
Yeah, but is it suppressing competition? For example, there are reports just this week that a Microsoft source is saying that Google is slowing down Microsoft and Apple's browsers by interfering with how people can find their websites like YouTube, and to favor Google's own browser, Chrome.
Right. Google makes a lot of products now that have expanded well beyond a search engine. And they clearly are making these products with making sure they're all interconnected and extra friendly with each other, meaning that Chrome will work with Google even better than Chrome will work with any other.
Well, I mean, we're missing a lot of the point here, too. The point is that Google dominates the mobile phone market with billions of dollars of cash that they pay out to it, and most searches now are done on phones, right? It's more of a research-oriented, is done on the computer, the PC, but most searches are done on the phone. Google dominates the phone market. Therefore, any new players coming in are billions of dollars behind getting into the mobile phone business.
Right, they don't just dominate the phone mobile phone business because of the money they pay out to make sure their search engine shows up, as the default. They also own Android, which is the biggest operating system, mobile phone operating system in the world. This really just goes back to they've expanded well beyond search, and they're making sure that all their products are working together in a way that products made by outside companies just can't compete with.
Matt Binder, we'll leave it there, and you get to have the last word on the Nexus today. Rich Granville, thank you, and Finn Brownbill, thank you also for joining us in the Nexus. Look, we've come towards the end of the year now, and it's time to get a bit lighthearted. What have you all been searching for on Google? Here are the top results of 2018. With 3.5 billion searches a day, 1.2 trillion searches a year, people ask Google literally everything. But what people searched for most in 2018 were people who died. Yes, it seems you're more famous on Google when you've passed away.
7 out of the top 10 are no longer with us. From the man who brought astrophysics to the masses,
The rise of powerfully, I will be either the best or the worst thing ever to happen to humanity.
to the rock star of the culinary world.
But I'm kind of a freak in the business in that, I'm not interested in doing the same thing, even if it worked.
And the DJ who took dance music to the next level.
That I could stay forever this young.
The most searched for person who's still alive was the actress Meghan Markle. You may remember she happened to marry the UK's Prince Harry in May. Black Panther, the Marvel film which blew up the box office, came in at 3rd place.
You get to decide what kind of king you are going to be.
And the most searched for thing on Google 2018, any guesses? That's right.
Welcome to the World Cup!
And what a worthy winner. Surely one of the most exciting and unpredictable football tournaments ever.